Yes. So I need to do, let's do before I start the class. Tell me, Atif, Rifat, and Hiba, about your school schedule for your exams, for your biology exams. Atif,
What is sir?
your biology exams in your school. So let's start with you, Atif. When is your biology exam, the next exam upcoming? What is the
Sir,
syllabus?
it's over, sir.
It's done.
Yes.
And what was the syllabus?
Uh, Human reproduction till male reproduction system and sexual reproduction for infants.
Okay. So your has then be completed till that, right? I remember
Yes.
you said that it's your exam and you were covered.
Yes, sir.
So it's already done for you.
Yes.
Hiba and welcome Hanifa. Hanifa has also joined in. Let's go to Hiba. Hiba. Hiba, I'm audible to you. You need to tell me just two things. When is your biology exam upcoming and what is the syllabus? Hiba, am I audible to you?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
My biology exam is on 14th of June.
14th of June.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, and what is your syllabus?
Sir, second and third chapter.
First, second, and third.
No, sir. Only second and third.
Okay, second and third chapter. So I think yeah, they will be yours will be covered very easily. Thank you, Hiba. Rifat.
They haven't told dates yet.
Anyways, like but probably when it can be around like you're
Around 14 June.
mid June. So I'm writing it mid June. And what's your syllabus?
They didn't tell.
Sorry, I lost your voice.
They didn't tell yet.
They didn't tell. So any idea what can come, or can you reach back to me by next Monday with your syllabus? Like, because we must have a potential
Yes.
kind of deadline, right? To I think chapter 2 and 3 will be, of course, in your syllabus. It is there in almost every school's syllabus. Depending on whether your school goes for chapter 4 and 5 as well. Can you just confirm it to me next Monday, Rifat?
Most probably it's just the second and third chapter because that's all we have done.
Okay, so I'm writing second and third for now. If there is any change, if any other chapter is involved, please let me know. Okay. Okay. Rifat, Hanifa, how are you? Good evening. Hanifa, I'm audible? Okay, Hanifa is writing in the chat probably. Okay, Hanifa, you need to get it fixed. Okay, try to get it fixed, please, so that you can participate in the discussions. Okay, tell me when is your. Okay, that will be great. Thank you so much, Hanifa. And tell me what is your potential syllabus, or if you know it, what is your syllabus and when is your exam for biology? Okay, so yours says 28th June, chapter 2 and 3. Okay, so I think all of you will be covered without any problem. Thank you so much, Hanifa. Please get your microphone fixed as soon as possible. Yes, by the next class. Okay. Okay, everyone. Any doubts before we begin? Anything anyone wants to ask? No. Okay. So in the last class, we finished with the ovarian and the uterine cycle. Okay, and then We did both the cycles. We looked at the graph of both the cycles simultaneously. So I would like someone to give me a brief recap. Let me go to Rifat. Rifat, you were there in the last class?
No, sir.
No, you missed the last class. Why?
I didn't know the proper schedule. I didn't get the message.
Okay, so let me, because Rifat has not joined the last class, so I would have gone to Atif otherwise. Let me give you a quick summary from the last class. So Rifat, you already know about oogenesis. Were you there in the oogenesis class?
No, sir. This is my first official.
Okay, right. So you have joined this batch. We had one orientation session, right?
Yeah.
Did I have a session with you?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So Rifat, what we'll do for what you have missed is I'll give you links for the recorded lectures that you will go through. I'll also give you handout notes like this blackboard that like I teach on, whiteboard, sorry. So you will get this as a PDF format. You go through this along with your NCRT, and what I can do is we can extend half an hour before or after the class to take all your doubts and complete things for you. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. So I will quickly give you a brief recap what we did in the last class. Basically, in the last class, actually some of the other student gives this recap, but I'm giving it for you so that you understand. So there are two cycles in female reproductive system going simultaneously. It's not like male reproductive system, where there is only one spermatogenesis cycle going on. In females, there are two cycles. One is the ovarian cycle, where gamete formation is taking place and gamete development is taking place, which is oogenesis and the development of oocyte. Is it clear?
Yes.
And then there is another cycle simultaneously happening with in sync with the ovarian cycle, which is called uterine cycle, also known as the menstrual cycle. Now that cycle aims to prepare the uterus for a potential pregnancy if it happens in that month, where ovarian cycle is going to release a ovum by the process of ovulation, and if that ovum gets fertilized and develops into an embryo which needs to be implanted now, then the uterus has to be ready for that. So that is the uterine cycle. Okay. Now in ovarian cycle, there are three phases. Both the cycles are around 28 days on an average. It can differ slightly up and down 2-3 days depending on the physiology of the female, but we take a standard as 28 days. Okay. So there are three phases in both ovarian cycle and uterine cycle. Now ovarian cycle is divided clearly on the basis of the ovulation event, because ovulation is a fixed event that happens on 14th day of the ovarian cycle or of the uterine cycle. Is it clear?
Yes.
So the first phase is the follicular phase, where the follicles develop. So you know that ovary has primary follicle, secondary follicle, then it develops into tertiary follicle, and the tertiary follicle is also known as Graafian follicle, correct? You can see here. And this is how a Graafian follicle looks. It has follicular layer, and inside it has three things: a secondary oocyte, a antrum, which is a fluid filled cavity, and a first polar body. Okay. So this is the mature follicle which releases secondary oocyte during ovulation. So first phase is the follicular phase, where in the ovarian cortex. Now what is a cortex? I will have discussed it here. So you know that every organ, whether it has like ovary and other organs like kidneys and adrenal gland, they have layers. So the outer layer is known as cortex, okay, of anything. The outer layer in biology is the cortical layer. The same is for brain. You know the brain cortex, the topmost layer. We call it frontal cortex or cortex. And then inside, the layer which is inside is called medulla. Okay. So let's come here. So you will see the screen visible to you. It's not, right? Something is stuck, correct? Rifat, is the screen visible to you?
Only half of it.
Yeah, I don't know why it's happening. So it's misbehaving somehow. Is it now visible to you? No. Okay. I'll open it again. Just give me one moment. Okay, but let's continue the discussion. So the cortical part of the ovary, which is the ovarian cortex, that has this whole oocyte development and oogenesis going. Okay, you understood, Rifat? The
Yes.
cortical part is the outer part, and inside is the medulla. Now, medulla does not play a role in oogenesis or oocyte maturation because it supplies the ovaries with nutrition like through blood vessels and other nerves and lymphatic vessels, etc. Open. So you can see it now, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So first phase was the follicular phase, then is the ovulatory phase, and clearly this is the phase where ovulation happens. So the Graafian follicle bursts, it comes towards the membrane of the ovary, like the wall of the ovary, and it diffuses in the wall and then bursts open on the other side, releasing the secondary oocyte. Okay, so this is the tertiary follicle, which means the third degree follicle containing a secondary oocyte, a second degree oocyte. Okay, because after secondary oocyte becomes mature ovum, and that maturation from secondary oocyte to ovum does not happen inside the ovary because it's already released out. So the third phase is called the luteal phase, which is called post ovulatory phase, where the secondary oocyte which was released now becomes, it was Graafian follicle, now it becomes corpus luteum. Corpus luteum is whatever is left, the remnants of the Graafian follicle, and it secretes progesterone as a hormone. It's important because it secretes progesterone. It also secretes estrogen, relaxin, and inhibin, but mostly in higher, like it's known to secrete progesterone because this hormone is very important to maintain pregnancy. Okay. Now, corpus luteum degenerates into corpus albicans. So this is the third phase, the luteal phase. Is it clear? Similarly, coming to, is ovarian cycle clear to you, everyone? Yes. Hanifa, Hiba, Atif, and Rifat?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now, simultaneously, there is a uterine cycle happening. Now, uterine cycle is also, it's a series of events that actually causes the change in the inner layer, the endometrium, which is also known as the temporary layer. It is not a permanent layer. It keeps making and breaking of the uterus. So it starts with menstrual phase, which is the bleeding phase for the first 1 to 5 days. Day 1 to day 5, the bleeding happens. So it happens because of low level of progesterone and estrogen, and endometrium just disintegrates and starts flowing out with blood vessels and tissues. And the tissue which comes out along with blood is called menses. So this is a menstrual phase from day 1 to day 5. And then from day 16 to 13 is the proliferative phase. When does ovulation happens? I told you. Remember, Rifat? Ovulation happens on day 14.
14.
Yes. So in a way, there it was a pre-ovulatory phase, then a ovulatory phase, and a post-ovulatory phase. But in case of uterine cycle, 2 out of 3 phases are pre-ovulatory. From day 1 to 5 is bleeding phase or menstrual phase, and from day to 16 is proliferative phase. Both of them are pre-ovulatory phase for uterus. Okay. And in proliferative phase, the levels of estrogen starts to rise. So estrogen is the most dominant hormone of this phase, and the endometrium starts to thicken again. It starts to form again. And by the end of proliferative phase, day 13, around 1 millimeter of endometrium is formed, okay, on an average. And then comes the post-ovulatory phase, which is secretory phase. So it starts from day 15, like after ovulation, to the last day, day 28. In secretory phase, now the most dominant hormone is progesterone, because progesterone starts rising now and estrogen is not very high then. And progesterone takes over and causes the endometrium to double or triple in thickness. So from 1 mm it goes to 2 to 3 mm. Okay. And if pregnancy occurs, if that on day 14 the oocyte which was released gets fertilized and now gets implanted, then after implantation the corpus luteum, remember ovarian cycle corpus luteum, it is maintained, it does not degenerate. And if it does not degenerates, then it will continue to produce progesterone and maintain the pregnancy. And the signal to maintain corpus luteum goes from this hormone called HCG. HCG, human chorionic gonadotropin, is also known as pregnancy hormone. And this is what is tested in the pregnancy kits, okay, from the urine of a pregnant female. Is it clear? So if
Yes.
pregnancy occurs, then that phase, the secretory phase, will just continue. The levels of progesterone and estrogen will continue to be high throughout the 9 months. But if there is no pregnancy, then no fertilization and corpus luteum degenerates, level of progesterone and estrogen falls again, and then it comes back to the first phase, which was the bleeding phase. So you can see that in combined in a graph here. So this is for ovarian cycle and this is for uterine cycle. You see that for ovarian cycle, both the hormones LH and FSH peaks at around day 40 because they help in ovulation. Okay. And in case of uterine cycle, the estrogen peaks in pre-ovulatory phase, like before day 14, in the proliferative phase. See, in the from day 1 to day 5 here, you can see from day 1 to day 5, the levels of both are low. That's why there is a bleeding happening in this phase. Then from day 6 to 13, estrogen comes at peak. And then after ovulation in secretory phase, the progesterone comes at peak. Okay. And it stays there if pregnancy continues. Otherwise, both go down. And again, the bleeding phase starts. Is it clear, everyone? Yes. Any doubts?
No, sir.
Just give me 1 second. Let me just sort this thing. What is happening? There seems to be some technical issues with that notebook. Okay, so in today's class, we will be finishing the human reproduction part with the let me make another. What's happening because of in today's class, we will be completing chapter 3. And what happens after fertilization? Tell me. What happens after fertilization? Everyone. Is the notebook visible to you? All of you? Is it visible or not, Rifat?
Yes.
We'll be talking about implantation, gestation, parturition, and lactation. All of you know all these words? Have you read these words in NCERT? Implantation, gestation, parturition, and lactation. So the first thing that happens after fertilization is implantation. And what gets implanted? The developing zygote, which becomes embryo now, has to get implanted in the uterine wall. Okay, so that is called as implantation. And what is the site of fertilization? Quickly, site of fertilization. Atif, you have done it. I hope I'm right. Yes. Atif, what is?
MEC junction.
Yes, it is in the fallopian tube, in the oviduct, the ampulla isthmus junction. So after fertilization, what happens is, and this fertilization event is also very interesting because the sperms has to move all the way from the uterus, like from the vaginal canal, going through the birth canal, up in the uterus, and then coming to the fallopian tube to find ovum there. And in that meanwhile, the secondary oocyte, which was released from the ovary, reaches the ampulla and isthmus junction. And the moment sperm touches the membrane of the secondary oocyte, there is a polarity change that happens in the membrane, which helps the ovum to mature, to complete meiosis 2 and become a fully mature ovum. Is it clear? So the full maturation of an egg cell also depends on encounter with the sperm. Is it clear, everyone? So till the sperm will not come and touch the membrane of the ovum, there will not be a change in the membrane, and there will not be the completion of meiosis 2 and becoming ovum from secondary oocyte. Is it clear? Yes or no?
Yes.
So fertilization happens in the oviduct, specifically at the isthmus ampulla junction. And after fertilization, a zygote is formed. Now zygote is a 2n diploid cell, but it is still a single cell. Okay. Now this zygote develops into embryo, and that process is known as embryogenesis. What is genesis? Just like spermatogenesis, now there is formation of embryo happening. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
So when it is a single cell with 2 copies in the nucleus, this inside there is a nucleus which contains 2 copies. This is a 2 and this is zygote. Then this zygote undergoes cleavage. So here the divisions in a zygote or in an embryo for the initial first phases, remember that division is known as cleavage. Write down. It's not given a normal term called mitotic division or meiotic division or just cell division. It is called cleavage. So one cell becomes 2 cell now with 2 nucleus. And then 2 cell, it becomes the sizes remain the same, but just forgive my drawing expertise with this digital tool. So this is a 2-celled embryo. This is a 4-celled embryo, and it continues forward, right? 4 to 8, 8 to 16 cell onwards. And this division from 1 to 2 and 2 to 4 is called cleavage. And I write down the initial divisions in an embryo known as cleavage, because basically cleaving, known as cleavage, are different from mitotic divisions. So they must be, you must think that they are just mitotically dividing because 2n, here both the cells are 2n and 2n remains 2n, right? So isn't it just mitosis happening? It's not mitosis. Anyone remembers mitosis here? Quickly. Rifat, do you remember mitosis? Or Atif, do you remember mitosis? No one wants to speak.
Equational division.
Yes, equational, but you have studied mitosis in cell division in your last previous year, right? Class 11. There
Yes,
is,
sir.
what are the stages, different phases in mitosis? Remember that? There is something called an interphase, a resting state, right? Then prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase. Remember that? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So there is a resting phase in normal mitotic divisions, which is not present in cleavage. So in cleavage, write down, it is slightly different from the mitotic division, as it does not have a resting phase between, it does not have a resting phase between two subsequent division cycles. That's called cleavage. A special name is given. And then from 8 cell, from 4 cell, it becomes 8 cell, and from 8 cell, it becomes 16 cell, and so on, right? So from 8 to 16 cells, so this transition onwards, the embryo is known as morula. Write down. Embryo beyond 8 to 16 cell stage, or at embryo at 8 to 16 cell stage is known as morula. Is it clear? And this, by the time it forms morula, it is still there. So this stages, which let me mark it as 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, right? So after 5, like after 4 divisions, it becomes a morula. Now till this stage, it stays in the fallopian tube only, in the oviduct. So division of of the zygote to start embryogenesis starts where? The division already has started where? It is a neat question. Where does embryogenesis begins? Right on. The cleavage divisions start in oviduct. Okay, which is the fallopian tube. And then after the morula, there comes a stage at which the embryo starts forming layers or start forming a pattern. Before that, it is just a, if you see this stage or at 4 cell stage, they are just mass of cells together, right? It is a lump of cell. Yes or no? People, you have to speak, you have to discuss with me. Otherwise, it will become very boring for me to teach if you are not there. Rifat, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So do you agree with me that from 2 cell to 16 cell or whatever, 32, then 64, 128, all these cell stages, basically it's just a mass of cell. You cannot distinguish anything different, right? It's just a ball of cells. Yes. But any organism is not a ball, right? We have lots of different organs, structures, different things in our body. So to form that, you have to start differentiating the embryo into different pattern or layers, correct?
Yes.
So that starts to happen, and when it happens, that embryo is known as blastocyst or blastula. From morula, it becomes blastula, also known as blastocyst in NCERT. Okay. Now, what does this blastula looks like? Let's see. So after a point, it reaches where all these cell mass. So there are lots of cell, and they start forming a layer. So there are cells which starts aligning at the periphery. Okay. And this layer is called a trophoblast. And then inside there are, let me use another color for this. And then on the inside, there is a mass of cells towards one side, which is known as inner cell mass. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
And there is a cavity on the other side, which is called blastocele. You have read about coelom, right? Coelom is a cavity. Body cavity is called coelom. So word cele comes from there. It talks about cavity. Is it clear? Atif has joined back. Yes. Is it clear, Atif? Yeah. So that's called blastocele. So this is a blastocyst or a blastula stage where you can clearly see embryo patterning into an outer layer which is called trophoblast, inner cell mass, and a blastocele. And this blastocyst actually implants. This implants in the uterus. Is it clear? So at which stage implantation happens? Write down, this is a question. Write down neat question. Implantation of human embryo. Write down the question. Implantation of human embryo in the endometrium or uterine wall happens at which stage of embryogenesis? Tell me.
Repeat the question.
The implantation of the embryo in the uterine wall happens at which stage of embryogenesis? Happens at blastocyst. Okay, it's called blastocyst implantation. Okay, blastula or blastocyst implants in the uterus. Is it clear? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. So now we come to implantation. So write down implantation. Let's define it. The blastocyst, the process of embedding, the process of embedding. Embedding means, what does embedding means? Yes, embedding is not just attachment, it's actually going in that layer. So if you embed something, if you are embedding something in the wall, you have to push it so that it goes in the wall. You understand? Attachment is just the surface. You understand? So this goes in the endometrium. Is it clear? That's called embedded. So something got embedded in the wall, which means it's partly inside the wall. Understood? Yes or no?
Yes.
The process of embedding of blastocyst in the endometrium of uterus is known as implantation. Okay. Now, after this blastocyst gets embedded in the endometrium, it starts developing. So that phase onwards, after implantation onwards, what starts? Pregnancy. So that's known as the female is pregnant and is successfully holding a developing embryo in the womb. And the period of pregnancy is also known as gestation period, biological. And what is the duration of gestation period in humans? Nine months. Okay. You know which animal has the longest gestation period? Which animal has longest gestation period?
Elephants.
Yes. How long?
22 months.
Yes. So for elephants, the gestation period is around 22 months. Just 2 months, couple of months less than 2 years. So it's around 2 years. Okay. Now, what happens during the gestation period? What happens during the pregnancy? What is the first thing that has to happen? So, you know that the embryo which is formed into the baby, do we use our mother's blood to develop? Are we formed from our mother's blood is the question. Are we formed from our father's blood? There is a biological clear cut no. Father just contributes sperm, no blood. But are we formed from our mother's blood? Because that is there in her body and we are also inside her body.
Yes.
No, that's also a myth. People often think that we are formed from the blood of our mothers, but if that was to be true, then no baby would ever have a different blood group from the mother. But it happens, right? Is it always that whatever will be the blood group of the mother, the baby will have the same blood group?
No, sir.
No. So it clearly tells us that we are not formed from our mother's blood. Otherwise, all of the babies, if a mother has 7 babies, all the 7 ones will have the same blood group. Okay, but it does not happen. So if we are not forming from our mother's blood, how is everything forming? Where is our blood forming from? What is happening? How are we making sure we are embedded in her uterus wall? There is blood vessels everywhere around. So how are we taking nutrition? And to answer that, there is one thing which develops. The first thing that happens is development of placenta. So write down. You know what is placenta? The development of placenta.
It's a tissue that provides the connection between the mother and the embryo.
Yes, it's a tissue that both provide connections and keeps a clear-cut demarcation between the two systems. So anything from the mother does not enters the embryo's system like straight away. It has to go through a membrane check. So this placenta has membrane through which no blood can pass. So the mother's blood never mixes with the baby's blood. You have studied diffusion through membrane, through semi-permeable membranes. How wastes are segregated in kidneys, glomerular filtration, Bowman's capsule, or how diffusion occurs in isotonic, hypertonic, hypotonic solutions. Are these concepts clear to you? If not, please go back, open your class 11th notes and just go through these things. So without mixing two solutions, we can actually make the exchange of substances between them happen. Yes or no? And that same thing placenta does. So everything in the developing fetus, because our development is happening inside the womb, has to come from mother only. And the only tissue in the body that transports things is a liquid connective tissue called blood. Blood is a tissue, and mother's blood never touches the embryos, the developing baby's system, because it's segregated by placenta. So what happens here is, let me explain you with a diagram. So let's imagine these are the cells, the boundary cells, which are the trophoblast. You understand trophoblast, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay, these cells, okay, these boundary cells. So I'm just making it big to explain you things. So these trophoblasts, and what is inside, what is towards this? The blastocele and the inner cell mass, right? It actually goes as a circle. You understand the curvature? I'm not making it full, but you understand that this is the embryo. And what is towards the outside? If it is embedded in the wall, what is on outside? Endometrium, right? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So what happens is, first thing that these trophoblast cells do, they start forming from their cells these structures, these finger-like structures. Okay. And what are finger-like structures? Sorry. Everyone. They form structures like this. And what is these kind of structures known as? You have studied these finger-like structures somewhere in your digestive system, just as a hint.
Villi.
What are they called? Villi. So here, in this case, they will be called chorionic villi. Okay. So they are chorionic villi. To these chorionic villi, the cells from the endometrium, the cells which are around in the uterine tissue, they start forming a lock, a zigzag kind of a pattern. You understand? This kind of a connection is formed. Is it clear, everyone? This is one tissue on this side, and there is another tissue on this side. So this is the embryonic tissue, and this is the uterine tissue, and both of these tissues form a connection. Is it clear? Which interdigitizes like this. So there's an interdigitation happening. Are you understanding or not what's happening here?
Yes, sir.
Yes. And this gets strengthened, and this become a disc-like structure known as placenta. So write down, after implantation, the trophoblast forms, the trophoblast layer forms finger-like projections called chorionic villi. The trophoblast forms finger-like projections called chorionic villi. Which is surrounded by the uterine tissue. Which is surrounded by the uterine tissue. Both these tissues gets interlocked like the digits. So our fingers are called digits, and when we lock our fingers like this is called interdigitization. So they gets locked like this. So both these tissues gets interlocked to form a structural and functional unit. To form a structural and functional unit between the developing embryo and the mother. Between the developing embryo and the mother, known as placenta. Okay, is it clear, everyone?
Yes, sir.
We learned that we are neither formed from our father's blood, we are neither formed from our mother's blood. We are just formed from something called as ovum, which is a single cell given by our mother, which contains everything: protein, cytoplasm, all the cell organelles are present in the ovum with a nucleus, and the half of the nucleus comes from the father along with centriole, which is provided by the sperm, and then it starts dividing in a special division known as cleavage, and when it forms a layer, kind of a pattern known as blastocyst or blastula, it gets embedded in the uterine wall, where the first thing it does is it makes a placenta, which is like a barrier and a connection both. So placenta act as a barrier, so the mother part and the baby's part is connected together, so it's a connection, but it's also a barrier because it does not allow mother's blood to go or infuse into the baby's system. It also does not allow the baby's blood to go and infuse into the mother's system. And that's why when we make our own blood group, which is decided by genetics, so you know how is blood group decided? If a mother provides us with blood group A, like A antigen, and fathers provides with A as well, then our blood group is A, right? If mothers provides with A but father provides with B, then our blood group is AB. Now in this case, remember, the mother's blood group could have been A and father's blood group could have been B, but baby's blood group is AB. Neither like mother nor like the father. It's a different variation. Is it clear, everyone? This is a proof that no blood forms us. We form our own blood. Like every embryo forms its own blood inside the mother system. Is it clear?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So over time, when this placenta is in place now, so this placenta is a very important tissue. It starts taking care of the embryo, helps in its development, and the embryo starts developing into a fetus. So a developing embryo is known as fetus. And one more thing that we have to discuss. Have we discussed sex determination in embryo? Yes or no?
No, sir, I don't think.
Tell me, have we discussed sex determination in embryo? Atif.
No, sir, I don't think we discussed.
Okay. So write down. We'll quickly discuss that. So once the fertilization happens, then how is sex determined? So at the time of fertilization, when male and female zygote fuse together, they bring different chromosomes, right? One set from male and one set from the female mother. Now each set, a haploid set, has One haploid set has how many chromosomes? 23 chromosomes. Okay, out of which 22 are called autosomes. They do not play a part in sex determination in humans, but one pair is called either X or Y, is called allosome. So the 23rd pair, the 23rd chromosome is either a X chromosome or a Y chromosome, and this helps in sex determination. If from mother comes X and from father also comes X, then this will become a female. And if mother gives X, so female is X, double X. You understood? Mother is also a female. So mothers always give X. They never differentiate. You know, very apt for. They also never differentiate between any of their kids. They also does not differentiate on the molecular level, on the chromosomal level. They provide both the kids, any kid for that matter, with a X. Now fathers can have X and father have a pair XY. So if a father provides X, it becomes a female. If a father provides Y, it becomes a male. Do you understand? So which gender is responsible for the determination of sex of a zygote? Is it mother or is it father?
Father.
But whom have we blamed for centuries before we knew this knowledge for birth of a girl child and not being able to provide with a boy child? Whom does the society blame?
Others.
Mothers, because they are uneducated bunch of people who know nothing about biology and sex determination, but you do. So it's your duty now with this knowledge to fight this notion wherever in theory or in practical you can, or even in discussion. It's the father who's responsible for determination of sex of a child, not the mother. Okay, so write down. Father or the sperm determines the sex of an embryo. Because all ovums contain X as the 23rd chromosome. Sperms are of two types. Either they can contain X or they can contain Y. If a Y containing sperm fuses, fertilizes, then it's a boy. If a X containing sperm fertilizes, reaches first and wins the race, it's a girl. This is clear? Shall I move forward?
Yes.
Yeah. So this was just quick in between, but let's come to placenta again. Write down functions of placenta. That is important. You also must have heard like people saying that there's my father's blood running in my veins. It's an idiom, very common one, right? Commonly we use this. Yes or no?
No, sir, I have not used.
You've not heard, like they always think that bloodline, the name bloodline came from because people before biology knew this thing and medical science told that this, people used to believe that it's the blood, like the blood is getting shared in the bloodline. So the bloodline is same, you know, we share the same blood, we are from the same father, things like that used to be discussed. But we share the same genes, not the same blood. Blood is different, but the genes are same. Like we have one pair from the mother and one pair from the father. There is equal weightage of both the genes. Okay, so it's not just that fathers are doing something special. They are determining the sex, yes, for which they should be like what you say, praised or blamed equally. But rest everything, every feature, every character is determined almost equally by male and by mother and father. Is it clear? So let's move to the functions of placenta. Write down first about placenta. Write down placenta is a endocrine tissue. What do you mean by endocrine?
Secretes hormones.
Yes, it's not a gland, but it's an endocrine tissue. So after it is formed, it starts behaving like an endocrine gland. Which secretes the following hormones, and we'll also study their function. The first and the most important hormone that placenta secretes when it starts forming is called HCG. HCG is the same thing that we studied above. It's also secreted from the developing embryo while the embryo is becoming, trophoblast and getting embedded. Blastocyst and getting embedded. It's also producing HCG, which is giving a signal to corpus luteum in the ovary. Remember? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So human chorionic gonadotropin. And the role of HCG is to write down, it is known as the pregnancy hormone. And it's known as the pregnancy hormone. We come to functions at the end. And the second hormone which it secretes, it's HPL. It's called human placental lactogen. Human placental lactogen. Now, this is a hormone which helps in lactation. What is lactation? Quickly, if you know.
Releasing of milk from the mammary glands.
Yes, production of the milk in the mammary glands. Okay, it's not released. It is like the baby has to suck the milk from the mother's breast. So it has an action which stimulates the releasing of it when the baby undergoes a suckling action. That activates kind of the release of colostrum from the mammary glands. So HPL helps in the production because before birth, females are not producing milk in the mammary glands. The mammary glands are developed structurally, but functionally they are still not working because the production of milk is a very high energy consuming process. Your females are making nutrition in their mammary glands, but there should be a reason for it, right? And that reason should be triggered with a signaling. The reason is if you have a baby, you can feed your baby with that milk. But when will you have a baby? After fertilization and implantation during the pregnancy. So the body will come to know that now there is a baby developing. So it will send signals to the mammary glands. Good evening, Zaid. How are you?
Fine.
Good to hear your voice after so long. Where were you?
So I was here only, but not able to join the class
Yeah.
as my school was they stretched the classes.
Okay. So I thought you were having some internet issues. That's why you're not joining in the classes. So I hope you have your hands on all the recorded
Yes,
lectures till now.
I'm getting the videos.
Okay, very good. And we are talking about implantation and pregnancy right now.
Yes.
Zed, one more thing because you are here. I'll forget it later. I'm sorry, Nifa and others. Just one thing I want to. Zed, when is your biology exam? Because I'm noting down the.
It's on 14th
14th June.
June.
Just one moment. So I will note it down. What's that? June. Okay. And what is your syllabus?
2 chapters. That is, I think, second chapter and third chapter.
Only 2 chapters? Only these 2?
Yes.
So it's the same as of everyone. Hiba, Rifat, Hanifa, and Zaid. Hanifa, you have to, I think, get it confirmed, right? Or was it Rifat who has to get it confirmed?
It was me.
Yes, get it confirmed and let me know. So 2 and 3 chapters. So it will be done. You are very well in the. Okay, Zaid. So let's continue. Please participate in discussions there.
Yes.
So the second hormone secreted by placenta, let's come to this point, is HPL, human placental lactogen, that helps in lactation in the females, acts on mammary gland, sends signal. The third hormone, as you already know, these are very important ones, progesterone and estrogen, right? What does progesterone do? Maintains the pregnancy, maintains the endometrium like it is. Remember, if I go slight up, oh sorry, that was the next other notebook. Yes, but you remember that chart I showed for uterine and ovarian cycle as a part of revision early in the class? Yes, Rifat, Atif, Hiba. So I told you, if pregnancy happens, then the level of progesterone is maintained. It does not fall down to start the bleeding phase again. So progesterone holds the endometrium. You can write it down. Holds the endometrium. Until the time endometrium is there, pregnancy is sustained. It also secretes estrogen and also, yes, I think all these. Apart from this, there is one more hormone known as, write it like this. So these are secreted from placenta. And there is one more hormone called relaxin. Okay. So relaxin is also secreted during the pregnancy from ovaries. Okay. Is it clear?
Yes.
Now, there is a question, a neat question here. There are 3 hormones which are only produced when there is a pregnancy, and those 3 hormones are HCG, HPL, and relaxin. This is the 5th hormone, but relaxin is not produced from the placenta as such; it's produced from the ovary. But remember, write it down. It's a question. It's a neat question. You can write it also. It has been asked. HCG, HPL, and relaxin are exclusively secreted only during pregnancy. Is it clear?
Yes.
Perfect. And the first one to come is HCG, because HCG is also secreted from the developing embryo. HPL and relaxin comes later, but this particular hormone HCG comes the first and is used in pregnancy test. In pregnancy test kits. I repeat a lot of things over and over again so that it gets in your head, never to come out. When we hear something, it becomes easier to associate that with our memory, especially when we hear it from someone else as a discussion or a story or some point that we raised and the other person raised in a discussion. We remember those points for long. So is it clear till here? Is it clear till placenta?
Yes.
So this is all about pregnancy. Okay. Now, what happens when pregnancy reaches? Okay, before we finish pregnancy, also let's talk about what happens during the pregnancy. Which organ is formed when? So write down. So you know, pregnancy is divided into 3 trimesters: first trimester, second trimester, and third trimester.
Yes.
Each trimester means 3 months each. So which is the first organ to be formed? Keep writing at bullet points. First organ that has to be formed. Logically, if you are thinking, biology is all about logic, right? So which organ is the most important organ to make the whole body? Which should come first?
Brain.
Brain is not the most important.
Heart.
Yes, it is heart. You know why it is heart and why it is not brain? Brain is, when the body is formed, brain is the CPU. Yes, it runs the body, it does everything, it controls everything. But when the body is forming from a mass of lump of cells in an embryo, it needs supply, right? To form anything, you need supply of protein, fats, carbohydrates, nutrition, amino acids, vitamins, minerals, factors, iron to make blood. You need all that, right?
Yes, sir.
So who supplies everything to the body? Heart. So heart is the supply unit, right? So the first organ that is formed, so that nutrition is supplied everywhere and waste is collected from everywhere. Even for the formation of brain, when it is being formed in the uterus as a part of embryogenesis, that also requires blood supply, right? Yes or
Yes,
no? So if heart is not there, not even, and you know that after the brain is formed, uh, the biggest share of nutrition and oxygen is utilized by the brain only, right? Around 20%
yes,
of our oxygen in our body, which we inhale, is used by this 1 kg organ. So rest of the body, if it is like, let's say 60-70 kgs, just this 1 kg organ uses 20% of the oxygen. And how is that supplied there? Through blood. Through blood, right?
yes.
Heart. So write down, heart forms the first. Heart forms, or heart is completely formed. Write down, heart is completely formed at around 22nd day of implantation. So after implantation, just a little over 3 weeks. So after 3 weeks, if you take a stethoscope and put it on the female's womb, you will see a very feeble heartbeat that is coming from the uterus, which is of the developing embryo. So by the end of first month itself, there are 2 hearts beating in a female, her own and the baby's. But the first one to form. Okay, is it clear? Then write down, by the end of second month, it's again in the first trimester. By the end of second month, so by the end of first month, we have the heart in place. By the end of second month, the fetus develops limbs, hands, legs, and digits starts coming up. By the end of second month, the fetus develops limbs and fingers and toes.
Sir, external genitalia?
External genitalia starts to develop, but it's not formed completely. So I'll not include it by the end of second month. It can be by the end of third month, but like by the end of the first trimester, all the organs are in place. The vital organs are developed. Okay.
Okay.
So write down, by the end of second month, it's just the limbs. You will see tiny bud-like structures which will form the legs, and tiny finger-like structures coming on those limbs. So that happens at the end of second month. At the end of third month, which is first trimester, write down, most of the major organs, including external genitalia, the penis on the, most of the major organs. So by
Can
the
you repeat the point for the second month?
at the end of second month, the embryo develops limbs and digits. They start, you
Okay,
can
sir.
start clearly seeing that there are legs, and these will become hand, these will become leg, and you can see very tiny fingers as well. Okay, and by all this time, the eyelid is closed. You know, our eyes are not open in the initial stages. The eye is being formed. Basically, what is an eye? Do you know what is an eye? What is eye as an organ? Eye is nothing but an extension of brain. Anyone has seen the structure of eye? So eyes have an optic nerve going like this, which joins.
Yes, sir.
So if you take brain out, you will see that eyes will also come with it, because they are actually a extension of the brain only. Okay. So it's forming on the inside, and on the outside, the eyelids are closed. There is no lip, there is no cut, and we cannot open it. So write down. First month, heart is there. Second month, limbs and digits starts. You can recognize it. They start developing. By the end of third month, most of the major organs, including external genitalia, okay, are developed. So first trimester ends. Then in the second trimester, things are developing, and by the end of fifth month, okay, fifth month is where the baby shows movement for the first time. Okay, is it clear? You know, baby starts kicking and turning in the womb. Mothers know about it. They can feel. Sometimes they say that the baby kicked. As a reflex, they move their hands and legs and also turn in the womb. So that happens around fifth month, at the end of fifth month. Is it clear? Say
Yes.
yes. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Now write down what else has been asked.
So head hair appearance.
Yes, thank you. So slight hair on the scalp starts appearing at the end of fifth month. When a baby is born, it is not bald completely. It has some tiny soft hair, and those hair are very, very soft, right?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
That's why there is this, in many cultures, there is this one thing where they say that after the baby grows, like at around 1 year or something like that, you should shave the head of the baby completely, so that some real tough hair can start growing on the scalp. So shaving triggers more hair production. The areas we shave, the more, like beard, if you keep shaving, you will see that over time the hair which is coming out is more and more stiffer. Yes.
Yes, sir.
So that's why in this culture they shave the head of the baby, so that, you know, the soft hair is gone, and now the actual stronger hairs will come out. So that also happens by the end of fifth month. Anything else? And yes, by the end of the second trimester, write down, when fifth and sixth month end, the eyelids open. Eyelids open at fifth and sixth month only. Eyelids open, eyelashes are formed. The eyelashes, they are formed. Okay.
Sir, body covered by hair.
By body you mean scalp. A baby's body
In,
is covered with hair.
full body, like including other things, eyelashes, eyelids.
Eyelids, yes. The body means in a baby, the body hair is restricted. You will see when a baby is born, it will not have hair on the skin also.
Yes.
In that, it does not have hair on the skin. Clearly, it does not have beard or mustache. It has eyelids and slight eyebrows and some hair on the scalp. It does not have pubic hairs. It does not have hair on the leg, hand, or anywhere else, right? So
Yes.
only in the head part it has hair. So that comes by the end of second trimester. Okay.
Okay.
Full body does not make sense for a baby. Baby does not need hair on the full body. Hair start developing after, like when we grow, we reach puberty, then hair starts coming up. And then, so clearly by the end of second trimester, by the end of sixth month, you see that all the major organs are there, hand, limbs are there, external genitalia is there, everything that needs to be there. The eyes are open, ear is formed, everything is there, right? So even if a baby is born in the 7th or the 8th month, that is called a premature delivery. but the baby can survive, right?
Yes, sir.
It actually does happens, you know. Humans are born in the 7th or the 8th month, which are called premature deliveries. But if given proper care and if they do not have a defect, so sometimes if someone is born with a defect, now that can happen even at the 9th month. If you are born with a defect in the 9th month, it becomes difficult for a baby to survive. But the chances of defects in a premature baby is more, because something or the other might not have, you know, developed properly. So there are chances of defects. But if there is no defect, the body is just underweight, tiny, smaller than the 9th month baby, but every organ is in place, then given the proper care, you know that these babies are kept in incubators and are provided with nutrition artificially,
Yes, sir.
that they develop, and after a few weeks they can start, you give that to the mother and they can be taken care like normal babies.
So like these babies, no one is allowed to touch them. Why?
Yes, because there is no one is allowed to touch a premature baby. Actually, no one is also allowed to touch a normal baby without proper sanitization. And that is because their immune system may not have developed properly. So any virus, any bacteria, any fungus, because if you are touching, your finger has virus, fungal spores, bacteria on it, right? You touch some surface, you touch the baby, you touch the nose of the baby, eyes of the baby, or the lip of the baby, and viruses or bacteria or fungus entered in the body, the baby is already, you know, premature. It is still developing. So immune system is also still developing. Everything is developing. It will be difficult if any infections happens to a premature baby. Is it clear?
Yes. Yes.
That's why no one is allowed to touch these babies. So they are kept in an incubated chamber, away from everything, even from the mother. But when a baby has a normal delivery after 9 months, it's fully formed. Yes, it comes out. You can touch it. Like again, with sanitization is preferred. But if something happens, you can give injections, or you can give vaccinations to babies. In fact, babies are vaccinated after birth at different intervals for different diseases, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So everything is clear?
Yeah. Clear.
Yes, sir.
Now, pregnancy is done. 9 months are over. So what happens after 9 months?
Ready to deliver?
Yes, ready to deliver. Sounds like Zomato, no? The baby is fully mature. So the fetus is fully mature to be born at 9 months. But how does the body gets to know this? Who will tell the womb?
Relaxin hormone?
Yeah, but all of a sudden you just, yes, you hit the bullseye, but who is relaxin hormone? Where did it came from? How it became the hero all of a sudden? And before, relaxin is not important for delivery. Relaxin is important for helping the mother going through all that contraction related pain. The name
Yes.
says relaxin. Relax, mother, relax. I am here. You understand?
Yes.
Yes. So, but how it happens? What happens when the baby is fully formed? And what happens when a baby is prematurely delivered? That is also a question, right? Why does some baby gets delivered out of the womb in 7th month? Does the womb does not like them, so they just expel them, go out prematurely? These are all complex interplays of hormones. Now, remember, there are many hormones which are important to hold the pregnancy, progesterone being one, right?
Yes.
Then there are hormones which signals the uterus that the baby is developed and now starts showing contraction. So that is called uterine contraction. Which layer of the uterus is responsible for contractions?
Myometrium.
Myometrium, because it contains muscle, right? Myo means muscle. So something must go and give signal to the myometrium so that start contracting now, so that the endometrium is not stable. It starts going down and the baby will be expelled out. So after the baby comes out, the placenta also comes out and the whole endometrium also falls off, right?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So this signal, first of all, comes from the baby itself, because the fetus will be the first one to know that I am developed. And after fetus, who will be the second thing to know that the fetus is developed?
Mother.
Placenta.
Sorry. Class.
Placenta is the direct connection with the baby and with the indirect connection with the mother. And placenta and baby are connected through
Umbilical cord.
what cord?
Umbilical cord.
Umbilical cord. Yes, perfect. So there is, and you know that inside a womb, let's make a womb. So this is the womb, the chamber. Inside the womb, the baby is actually in a cavity, in a membrane bound thing. So the baby has a head. I'm going to draw a very bad baby, but just remember that they have the limbs, they have the hands, belly, and from the belly is the placenta coming out, right? This is the, umbilical cord. So this is the umbilical cord. Yes or no?
Yes.
And this is the, so what is, and this is the, let's say, placenta, which is a disc-like structure in the endometrium, and it goes and connects with there. But you see that the baby itself is in a pouch-like thing. So what is around this? What is here?
Amniotic fluid.
Yes. So the baby, when it is inside the womb, is in a fluid called amniotic fluid. And this is the amniotic sac, the amniotic membrane. Okay. So inside the, we are like in a fluid filled chamber. So do you think we are breathing inside?
No. Sir.
We can't breathe inside. It's all liquid around us. Good, good. So how are we respiring? We are not breathing, but we are still respiring. That is the difference between breathing and respiration, right?
Yes.
Respiration is the breakdown of glucose inside the cell with the help of oxygen. So where are we getting oxygen from? From the umbilical cord, dissolved in blood, right?
Yes.
This side of the placenta is the baby's blood, and this side of the placenta is the mother's blood. An exchange happens. So baby gives all the waste to the mother, and mother gives all the nutrition to the baby. Yes?
Yes.
It continues to happen for 9 months. And finally, when the baby is fully developed at 9 months, both the fetus and the placenta start giving signals to the uterus to show mild contraction. So write down, that is known as fetal ejection reflex. Write down fetal. And now we have entered from pregnancy, from gestation period into parturition. So let's first write what is parturition. Let's define parturition. It is the process of expulsion or delivery of the fetus. It is the process of expulsion or delivery of fetus from the uterus or the womb through birth canal. Birth canal is vagina plus cervix. Through the birth canal. Okay, that's called parturition. In a cesarean delivery, where we make a cesarean section, we cut the uterus and take the baby out, there is no the parturition is not happening. Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So this is parturition. And write down the first signal that initiates parturition is called fetal ejection reflex. I think you are understanding everything from the name itself.
Yes.
It's a reflex, mothers can't control it. Any reflex we cannot control, right? That's why it's called a reflex.
Yes, sir.
And it's for the ejection of the fetus. So write down. The signals for parturition originate. The signals for parturition originates from the fully developed fetus and the placenta. From the fully developed fetus and the placenta. which which induces mild uterine contractions. Remember the word mild. Fetal ejection reflex is mild. It just induces it. It gives enough time for the female to get ready. Otherwise, it's not just like it's a reflex that whatever the female is doing, probably at that time the female is sleeping or walking or standing or doing something else, right? So the moment these fetal ejection reflex starts, this amniotic membrane, it breaks and the fluid starts leaking. That's called water breaking. You must have heard this sentence, female saying that my water broke, I need to go to hospital right now. Females during the later stages of pregnancy, the breaking of water is a sure short sign that now delivery has to happen. If water breaks early than expected, then also you have to rush to the hospital, and or if possible at home, you have to get the delivery done. Yes. So mild contractions induces mild contractions in the uterine membrane. The uterine membrane. Sorry, uterine layer, not the membrane. It's a layer in the uterine layer. So this fetal ejection reflex is clear. It is milder. Is it clear, everyone?
Yes, sir.
But it is not enough to expel the baby out, right? It is enough to tell that the baby wants to come out now, so the delivery has to happen. But this fetal ejection reflex, when starts, it sends signal to mother's pituitary gland. Now, what is pituitary gland known as? The master gland. Remember?
Yes.
And pituitary gland starts secreting oxytocin. Now, you know what is oxytocin? Oxytocin is secreted from posterior pituitary. Class 11th, chemical control and coordination.
Yes.
Yeah. So oxytocin. And this oxytocin goes and acts on uterus and causes vigorous contractions. Causes vigorous contractions. And when there are vigorous contractions happening, then there's a lot of pain also induced with that contraction. And Z, now comes your hormone, relaxin.
Relax.
And gives the mother the adrenaline rush and the boost and the help to go through all that labor pain. You know, labor pain is considered as one of the most severe of the pains a human physiology can handle. And the worst part is, worst or the best or whatever you say, that part is that you cannot give a female who's delivering, who's parturiting, any kind of a painkiller, because that might go and affect the baby, right?
Yes.
No painkiller can be given. They just have to sustain it on their own. So that's why the biology, if the pain goes beyond a point, you know that body can also die because of pain. If no organ is damaged, like to that extent where you die, but suddenly some pain is in the body, which the brain is not able to contemplate and not able to understand, then the brain dies out of shock in that pain. You know that pain also makes people die.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
To protect the female body from that, oxytocin relaxin duo works in pair and helps, and also the adrenaline rush. Lots and lots of adrenaline is being secreted, which helps the female to just gather the courage and expel the baby out. Okay, so these mild contractions causes expulsion of the baby. Just to give you a context, when a mother delivers a baby, the amount of pain which she goes through is equivalent to a normal male's femur bone along with few ribs breaking at the same time. So imagine femur bone, the thigh bone, which is the strongest and the biggest bone, breaking into two completely, which means shattering, along with few 3 or 4 ribs also shattering at the same time. not one after the other at the same time. So the amount of pain that the body will suffer all of a sudden, that is the kind of pain a female has to go through during delivery. But to take care of that, a lot of hormones also come into picture. Otherwise, the female won't be able to survive. No. So biology helps here. You understand, everyone?
Yes.
And that's why we should always be respectful to feminine gender and especially to our own mothers, because just to bring us in the world, they suffered so much of pain. So all that we can do for the rest of the life is to not give them any more of pain, mentally or physically. Okay. Okay, quickly. So the female is the baby is out. The delivery has happened. What now? Is it end? Happy? Everything is done? What now?
So lactation.
Yes.
Colostrum.
Yes. So now the last part is lactation. And after this last part, I will take some neat questions and we'll solve it together. So now after parturition happens lactation. And what do we mean by lactation?
Production of milk from mammary glands.
Yes, production of colostrum. The human milk is known as colostrum, TRUM. In female breasts. And this colostrum is a thick yellow fluid. And it also contains, along with nutrition. So colostrum is a total nutrition. It's a full, what do you say? A full course meal for nutrition and also for providing some immunity. It also contains antibodies. So through the mother's milk, antibodies can be passed from the mother to the baby, which directly helps the baby to fight certain infections in the very early stages when its own immune system is not very well developed. Is it clear?
Yes.
The mother system does everything it can for a developing baby inside, which is just behaving like an endoparasite. When we are inside our mother, aren't we just like endoparasites?
Yes.
We are taking everything useful from the mother system, putting everything waste in the mother system, surviving their nutrition, shelter, and also developing. So we are just like parasites when we are inside the mother, and it is exactly the same. It's exactly the similar kind of biology, because sometimes mothers also, in a very rare kind of a disorder, mothers get allergic to their own developing babies, to the own pregnancy, to their own embryo. And in that cases, it becomes very important for in the early stages to get the embryo medically terminated. It's called medical termination of pregnancy or abortion. Otherwise, the mother will not survive the whole phase of pregnancy. They start developing red rashes all over the body, and they start becoming ill. And if the baby starts developing more and more, it will take more and more health of the mother, and mother will finally die. And eventually the baby will also die. It's not like it will be delivered. So in that case, only one thing is there to treat the mother for that. You have to get rid of that pregnancy. That's called medical termination, urgent medical termination. Okay, so the human baby is out, colostrum is formed, and it is also said that after the birth, you should not feed baby with anything, not even water, for the first 6 months. For the first 6 months, the baby should only feed on colostrum. Howsoever many times of the day, they should feed on colostrum. But it has limitations because mother's physiology may not, like nowadays, females find it difficult to produce that much amount of milk. So they have to depend on some external nutritional sources to fulfill the needs of the baby. Otherwise, if a mother can form enough milk in the mammary glands, the baby, if you do not give even water to the baby, it's okay. It's actually advised. But people often think that, okay, how will the baby survive without water? It's all there in the colostrum. It can. Okay, so I am giving you a homework here. You have to go to NCERT and look at the structure and anatomy of mammary glands. It's very simple. I could have portrayed it here also. if there is any doubt, we'll do it in the next class. So just the anatomy and structure, okay? It's given in NCERT. So it's simple. You have, so there is a covering, which is the mammary gland. First, there will be tissues. After that, there will be fat inside, which makes the mammary gland bulkier. And beneath the fat layer is present your mammary lobes. So these are the mammary lobes in which milk is formed, the colostrum is formed. And then from mammary lobe, they come into mammary alveoli. Remember, there was an alveoli in lungs also, class 11th.
Yes, sir.
Those used to hold air. These mammary alveoli used to hold, they hold milk. And from there is a mammary duct, and then duct comes into the nipple. And then when the baby initiates the suckling activity on the nipples, the milk starts coming out. So the structure is just relevant to understand that where is milk produced and where it is stored. So it's in your NCERT, a diagrammatic sectional view. Will you go and look at it? This is your homework. Okay.
So what is ampulla and lactiferous duct?
Yes, ampulla, the word ampulla you will hear a lot of times. Ampulla is also present in vas deferens. Ampulla is also present in fallopian tube. Remember, ampulla is isthmus junction. Mostly
Yes.
these are the widest part of any duct in most of the biological context. So ampulla in mammary gland is that it is, and lactiferous duct is the duct, all the ducts which are coming from the mammary ducts. So because mammary gland is, okay, let me just do it here. From the frontal section, if we see a mammary gland, you see that it has fat tissues towards the outer side. Inside there will be these mammary lobes. Every mammary lobe will be have a mammary gland, sorry, a mammary duct. They will all merge together and form a, before they merge together, they have ampulla, the wider region. And when they all merge together, they form a lactiferous duct. Is it clear?
Yes.
This lactiferous duct gets condensed in one particular region, which is known as the nipple. Males also have a rudimentary mammary gland where these lactiferous ducts and the mammary lobe and fat tissues are not developed that much. And functionally, it's not developed. It's not functional, but it's there. So the nipple is the focal point for all the lactiferous ducts to come from where the baby can suck and milk. Is it clear?
Yes.
And areola is the outer layer. So areola is from the nipple, the layer which covers the whole mammary gland is called the areola layer. Okay. I think when you will look at NCERT, you will understand it. It's very easy. Is it clear? Everyone, Hiba, Atif, Zaid,
Yes, sir.
will you do it? Hanifa and Rifat? I want confirmation. You will do it, right? Can I rely on you for this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is the end of the reproductive system, and from next class onwards, I will start with reproductive health. But before that, let's spend some time in this class and also in the next one. I'll spend some time in discussing some questions from this chapter. So let me see if I have these questions. Yes, from this chapter, yes. Can everyone see the screen that I'm sharing?
Yes, sir.
It's, you can find certain books and keep such books where we discuss certain questions that have come in previous classes. So I'll go one by one and I'll ask. So these are all questions that have come in previous year needs questions. So let's go to question number 6 first. I wanted to do this one first. It is asked in NEET 2016, and let's go to Atif for that. Atif, can you read this question? Let me just sorry. Is it visible to you now properly?
Yes, sir.
Make it, yes, I think this is better. Yes, can you read question 6 and tell me what do you think is the answer?
Okay, sir.
I'm so sorry, Atif. Technical issues, okay? Forgive me for this. Yes, please read the 6th question.
Okay, sir.
Fertilization in humans is practically feasible only if
A, the ovum and sperms are transported simultaneously to amplitude ischemic junction of the cervix. B, the sperms are transported into cervix in 48 hours of release of ovum in uterus. C, the sperms are transported into vagina just after release of ovum in fallopian tube. And D, the ovum and sperms are transported simultaneously to amplitude ischemic junction of the fallopian tube.
So basically it's about timing, and this is one thing which is not so. Let me prepare you mentally for questions in NEET. See, it's true that NEET does not go a lot beyond NCRT, but it does go beyond NCRT in the way where it is explanatory. It digs. So NCRT is like that hair strand. Then you are actually ripping off the hair to go deeper, you know. But the concept is in NCRT. So even if it is in one line, we have talked about fertilization in one, like few lines in NCRT. But what do you think would be the most probable answer? The first option says the ovum and sperms are transported simultaneously. So is it required to transport both of them simultaneously together to the ampullary isthmus junction? Or like this whole question wants to test your knowledge or your concept about how long sperms can survive in the female tract.
So it's 48 hours.
Yes, they do survive for around 2 days in the female tract. So what do you think would be the most correct answer? See, if we transport both of them simultaneously to the ampullary isthmus junction, fertilization will happen, right? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Catch here is, can someone tell me what is wrong with statement A? Atif will tell me. Atif, what is wrong with statement A?
So the statement A says that the amplitude ischemic junction is present in the cervix, which is wrong.
Yes. So if this cervix part was not there, this statement would have been the most ideal answer, right? Because
Yes.
what would have been better than to just put both of them together? It's just like miracle. Just the right timing, fertilization will happen right on the go. But they said off the cervix. And you're like, oh, if you miss this and you tick the 48-hour, tick this as an answer, it will be wrong. Now, what is with B?
So B again talks about cervix.
No, but sperms are transported into cervix. That's correct. No, where are sperms transported? In the cervix only. But there is still a wrong thing in statement B. Who will tell me? Now, let me go to Rifat. Rifat, are you there? Rifat,
Yes, sir.
what's wrong with statement B? Can you find out the wrong thing? Is statement B correct?
No.
No, but what is wrong then? I'm asking what is wrong, which means that something must be wrong. Yeah, I just gave up. Hanifa, can you figure out?
48 hours is in O.
No, it is saying the sperms are transported into cervix within 48 hours of the release of ovum. So if the sperms are transported into cervix within 48 hours of the release of ovum, it makes sense. You know, it can happen. Fertilization is feasible, right? Practically feasible. Yes. Atif, is there something wrong with this statement?
Yes, sir.
What is it?
It says release of ovum in uterus. Ovum is not released in the uterus.
Perfect. Ovum is never released in uterus, people. What enters in uterus is a blastocyst. It is already in morula or blastocyst stage when it enters the uterus, then gets implanted. Can you see everyone, Rifat and Anifa?
Yes.
Need is not difficult. It's just tricky. So second option is also gone. So C and D, what will be the answer? Let's come to answer. Atif, what do you think is the answer?
So D.
Yes. The ovum and sperms are transported simultaneously to ampullary ischemic junction of fallopian tube. It is just the statement A corrected, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes. So answer will be D. Everyone understands why the answer will be D? Zed?
Sir, can you explain my option C is wrong? I chose D just because of intuition.
Okay. So C is the sperms are transported into vagina just after the release of ovum in fallopian tube. So if the sperms are transported in vagina, when the release is in the fallopian tube, when the release happens of the ovum. So first thing is, there are two things which is wrong. One thing is it's not the ovum which is released. It is the secondary oocyte. But let's get rid of that. Even if you release ovum and then after that sperm enters, then the chances of fertilization is decreasing because the sperm will take some time to reach, right? Sperms are tiny, micrometer long structures, and the tract from the vagina to the fallopian tube is at least, very easily around 40 inches, right? If we track all that, like 30-40 centimeters, sorry, if we track all that length, that which the path they have to follow, so it will take them time to reach there. By that time ovum is already descending down, and if it does not get fertilized, then it cannot give signal to the corpus luteum to sustain, and progesterone goes down and the endometrium starts falling off. Do you understand? So it's ideal. So it's ideal that both of them reach together at the ampullary isthmic junction. In case C, the chances of them reaching together at that junction is low. So by the time sperm will reach the uterus, ovum will already come into the uterus, very low, where they cannot fertilize now, or the chances are very less. Do you understand? So sometimes in entrances you have to choose between, like, this is not a very incorrect option as a C, but D is the most correct option. Do you understand now, Atif? Yes? Zed, Atif, refers.
Yes.
Okay. Now question 7, Zed. Please read question 7. Zed, you have to read it also, please.
Select the incorrect statement. LH and FSH decrease gradually during the follicular phase. Second, LH triggers secretion of the androgens from the Leydig cells. C, FSH stimulates the Sertoli cells, which helps in spermatogenesis. LH triggers ovulation in ovule.
Genesis, read carefully.
Spermiogenesis, sorry.
Yes. And D?
LH triggers ovulation in ovary.
Which you think is the incorrect statement?
I think option number A.
What do you think, Atif? Atif?
Option number C.
C, A and C. Why do you think it's A, and Atif, why do you think it's C? So you know everything from NCERT, but still there is a confusion. Yes, Z for A. What do you think is incorrect in A?
Sir, I know that LH decreases, but I don't know like FSH decreases or not. Like,
Okay,
it's not confirmed.
that's your rational. And Atif? Atif, what is your rationale to say C is incorrect?
1 minute, sir. Let me check something. I'm not really sure.
Okay. See, D is correct. LH triggers ovulation. Perfect. And what is the follicular phase? Where the follicles are being developed, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So LH and FH is decreased during the follicular phase, right? It comes up during ovulation. Remember, both LH and FSH comes up, peaks on the 14th day. Remember that graph, Atif?
Yes.
So A and D is correct. For me, it should be either B or C. So Zed, do you understand? Both
Yeah.
LH and FSH decrease during the follicular phase and increase during the ovulatory phase. So yes, Atif, we'll go for B or C. B is also correct, right? Because FSH in males starts spermatogenesis. LH starts secretion of testosterone.
Sir, both B and C are correct, right?
No, both A and D are correct. And I'm saying B and C is the contention. Which do you think is incorrect? It is C, which is incorrect. Atif, you understand? Because FSH stimulates spermatogenesis, not spermiogenesis. Spermiogenesis is the end, at the very end, where the sperm's head is embedded in the Sertoli cell, and when they just become mature, and then they are thrown out in the lumen. Remember that the discussion we had?
Sir, I read spermatogenesis, spermatogenesis. That's why I was a bit confused.
So same here.
Yes. So that's why you have to read the question carefully. There are three processes: spermatogenesis, spermiogenesis, and spermiation. Spermatogenesis is what FSH stimulates. So C is the incorrect statement. Is it clear for Rifat and others as well?
Yes.
Okay. Now, there's one more question which is important. Yes. 9th question. This was from when, like, question 9th. Hanifa, will you please read this question? 9th question. Hanifa, are you there? Can you speak? Or are you not there? Rifat, are you there? Can you speak?
Yes.
Yes, Rifat, please read the 9th question and tell me the answer.
In human females, meiosis 2 is not completed until A. Uterine implantation, B. Birth, C. Puberty, D. Fertilization.
Yes.
It's
When it is saying meiosis 2, clearly it is talking about oogenesis, right?
yes.
Meiosis only happens during gamete formation. So tell me, it is not completed until?
Fertilization.
Yes, correct. You know, I told you that the moment sperm comes and touches the secondary oocytes membrane, then the meiosis 2 completes and it becomes a fully mature ovum. Is it clear, everyone?
Yes.
It will not be birth, not puberty. So many times students get confused and they think that at birth it is arrested, so at puberty it completes. No, it is not completed until fertilization. Okay, right. And there is one more thing. So this question first, can anyone read this? Atif, will you read question 1 first? Capacitation is not an NCRT, but it was asked in NEET 2017. So this is where I always tell you that but the concept is there in NCRT. So you know what is capacitation? Atif, can you read the question first, please?
Capacitation occurs in epididymis, vas deferens, female reproductive tract, breath of testis.
Yes. For that, we have to know what is capacitation. So write down, just write. Capacitation is the cell physiological changes, cell physiological functional changes in the sperm. Capacitation is the cell physiological functional changes in the sperm that helps it to fertilize the ovum. That helps it to fertilize the ovum. Written, everyone?
Sir, can you repeat?
Capacitation is the cell physiological. There are certain changes that happen inside the cell, right? Capacitation word, capacitance, you have also studied in physics. Remember, capacitor has a capacitance in which you can just fill the charge, keep filling the charge against its concentration gradient, right? That's called capacitance. That's what capacitors do, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So this is also like providing the sperm with some kind of a functional change in the cell to better fertilize the ovum. That is called capacitation. Like a pep talk, but on a molecular level. So when do you I remember it like this. When do you give a team a pep talk?
Right before the match.
3 months before the match, 1 day before the match, right when the match is about to begin.
Sometimes right before the match is going to start.
Why sometimes? It's not every time. Pep talk means something. Pep talk is a small talk. Okay, come on, buck up, go and do it.
Yeah, before the team.
That's pep talk. It's right on the field most of the times. The coach or the captain comes, makes a hurdle and tells you, okay, let's do it. So that's the same concept with capacitation. So where do you think it will happen? Clearly, it cannot happen in retrotestis because after retrotestis, it has to spend time in epididymis for 14 days. So it's not, retrotestis is ruled out. Do you also?
Participants.
Yes. What do you think, Rifat? It cannot happen in any of the organ or place where it can stay stored. Okay. So it will not happen in retrotestis. It will not happen in epididymis because 14 days plus after that it can stay stored in vas deferens. It will also not happen in vas deferens. It will happen in the most unusual option, female reproductive tract. This is where the field is. The match is set for 300 million sperms. Now they have to run a marathon, hurdle marathon. So this is where the pep talk is required. Okay, everyone? Not in NCRT, but has been asked. There are many concepts like that which can be asked. So capacitation occurs in female reproductive tract. And the chemicals present in the female tract helps in this capacitation event. Okay. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So I will advise all of you. So we'll start concept wise in the next class also. Before we begin with reproductive health, we will spend half an hour on questions. But I would urge that all of you go back and start finding the questions which are coming from this topic and bring anything to me that you think is not in NCRT or has been asked or you are confused about it. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so someone is asking. Yes, Zed. Yes, we can. I will talk to the operations team and they will send you this thing. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Okay, then see you in the next class, everyone. And keep revising your concepts. Take care and stay blessed. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Bye, Rifat. Okay, just
Thank
one.
you, sir.
Rifat, can you just stay for